Hello, good afternoon. It's Deb here. It's Tuesday. It's day 2 of week 3, Relationships Week. And I'm going to be joined very shortly by Rachael Barnes, who's going to be talking to us about relationships with our children. Now, apologies to those of you that were expecting us to be live a little bit earlier this morning. I did let you know yesterday that we were going to go live at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And I'm a little late because I was just dealing with an urgent call from a client in a bit of distress. So we're here now anyway, and that's the important thing. So, hopefully you've had a fantastic week. I certainly have. I had a fabulous birthday weekend. Thank you to all of you for wishing me happy birthday and for your messages over the weekend. It really was fantastic. Now I can see that Rachael is watching us here, so I will bring her onto camera and we'll get talking about relationships with your children, because they are just as important as the relationships that you have with your partner. Hi, Rachel. Nice to see you.
Hi, got you at last.
Yes, we got here eventually. That's okay. As I say, better late than never.
Definitely.
How are you? Are you okay?
I'm a bit frazzled. I had to take my son for blood test this morning. Didn't really go very well. So yeah, I'm okay. I'm just calming down.
Well, that's okay. I mean, as I'm sure you know, we're very gentle in here, very informal. So it's just really a chat about, what you do and your hints and advice for, having good relationships with your children.
Yeah, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And I'm not a perfect parent by any means. And I've resorted to wine on more than a few occasions.
Nothing wrong with wine. So, Rachel, I know that you're equally as busy as I am, so I'm going to hand over to you. If you could tell us a little bit about what it is you do, and perhaps share some of your best tips for really sort of building those relationships with your children, because as we both know, the relationships you have with your children are equally as important as the relationships you have with your partner.
Exactly, yeah. Even more so, I think, in some respects, because I was brought up by a mum who suffered terribly from self-esteem problems. She'd had quite a few traumatic incidents as a teenager, and my grandparents didn't encourage her to talk about them. In fact, all her problems were like swept under the carpet. You just get on with things. You don't worry about the neighbours judging you. And even though she tried to bring us up to be confident, I learned from her example to be worried about what people thought about us. My dad's business took off and we suddenly had some money, but we had to keep it secret because it would upset people that we suddenly, were successful and that sort of thing. And I see that happen a lot, and I see it passed down from parents to their children. And then they wonder why their children are lacking in confidence. And it's because children are copying what you're doing rather than what you're saying. I mean, they definitely do. My 11-year-old, I'm trying to work on his confidence. And he says things to me. If I put myself down, he says, "Mum, you're doing it again." So he's very conscious what I'm saying to myself, and he's taking it all on board. So when I work with my clients, I don't specify that I work with ladies or children, because I'm finding that ladies come to me and then they'll ask me to work with their children, or vice versa. They'll bring their child to me and think, "Oh, some of these strategies I need to adopt myself, and we can do them together." So I'm very passionate about helping parents and children to build that confidence together, because I think they need each other's support, really.
Absolutely, and that's vital, isn't it? And what you're saying, that children are like sponges, aren't they? They take on everything that we are saying, that we are doing. I noticed it with my own son at 15.
Yeah, absolutely, completely. And we've only got, I think now my youngest is 11, my eldest is 15, he's got autism. So it's not really the same kind of relationship. He's still very emotionally young. But my 11-year-old now is very much influenced by peer pressure. So my influence is getting less and less, because it's all about what his classmates think. He was quite happy, well, happy-ish, to come out for a walk during lockdown, while there were no children about. Now all of a sudden I'm seeing year sevens hanging out. Now he's like, no way am I being seen out with you again. So we have a very small time to influence our children. So yeah, I've put together 5 top tips. You can adapt them to younger children. I was a nursery teacher for 20 years, so I'm keeping conscious that you can adapt some of these tips for younger children. So do you want me to run through my tips?
Yes, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So my top tip for any relationship is communication. And for our children, we have to make that as easy as possible, because it's very difficult to talk about your feelings. And one great tip I've learned since I've been training is that you ask your child to give a score out of 10 for their day, because they find that easier. Now, my son, if he's in a bad mood, will say minus 10 billion and be really like over dramatic. So if we've worked on things, or he's had a bit of time out, or he's had some food, I'll ask him again later and he'll say his day's a 2. So I know that there's been some improvement. He's not going to go over the top. He's like coming up to the teenage years. They don't tend to go over the top. But without him having to explain all his feelings, he can just give me an answer and I can judge whereabouts he's at, and there's less pressure. So that would be my first tip. Tip number 2, I find that children open up more when they're occupied and when you're not giving them full eye contact. So my child will open up in the car. He'll open up when I'm cooking and he's sat in the kitchen, if we're going for a walk. And it is basically tricking them, I think, in a way, to get them to open up without them realising and without putting pressure on them. Bedtime is another good one, where you'll start opening up about things that have happened. And one thing I've learned is try not to be judgmental. If he said something that his friends have done that you don't approve of, have time to think about it before you criticise them, because friends to them are really important and you don't want to start alienating them. So that's my first 2 tips. Tip number 3 is to spend quality time with each child, one at a time. And I know we're all busy, but even 10 minutes a day, just quality time where you're not looking at your phone, you've just got one child and you're talking to them. And things like being interested in their activities. I said to my son the other day, can you show me how Fortnite works? I really didn't want to, and I thought he'd say, oh, get lost, Mum. But he was really chuffed that I'd taken an interest. So we sometimes sit down and watch YouTube videos together. Some are quite interesting, and some of them are quite good role models. So it's nice to take an interest in what they're doing. They might tell you to get lost, and that's fine. Or they might say, yeah, come on, Mum, let's sit down and watch it together. So that was tip number 3. Tip number 4, if they're having a meltdown, acknowledge what they're feeling is perfectly normal. Anger's a normal emotion, so is frustration. Suppressing it is not good. What I say to children is it's okay to be angry. It's not okay to emotionally or physically hurt someone. That's not okay. So we need to find a safe way that we can work through our emotions. So depending on the age of the child, it could be jumping up and down on the trampoline, going for a walk, having some time out. Even with younger children or children with special needs, ripping up scrap paper and just being allowed to get that anger out. It's not a great thing to suppress it. And telling someone to calm down when they're angry is just not going to work. Because my husband tries to do that to me and doesn't do anything for my anger levels. So my last tip would be tip number 5, is teaching your child that mistakes are perfectly okay. I've seen parents trying to be the perfect parent and not telling their children about any mistakes they've made, which isn't healthy, because your child cannot possibly live up to that. And they don't want to be scared of telling you when something has gone wrong, because they will make mistakes. So what we try and teach is that every mistake is a learning experience. You can learn from it, forgive yourself, and to move on, because it will help you in the future. And most of the top entrepreneurs have made mistakes and their businesses have gone, down the pan the first time round, and they've learned from it, picked themselves up and moved on. So yeah, they are my top 5 tips. I hope that they will help in some way. They've helped me. Not always runs to plan. Your children are not textbooks. They won't always behave like you expect them to. And they do answer back. So,
Absolutely. But that's fabulous. I mean, that certainly is the sort of thing that I work through as well. And that when I'm working with students, prior to lockdown, I was doing one day a week in a school working with teenagers. So this is great. It tells me I was doing the right thing, which is always nice to know. And apologies if I looked as if I was distracted or doing something else. I was checking the computer to see if we could read any comments we've got. It works out the computer on to read the comments. So I can't always read them on the phone. And we've had one comment from Theo which says, her son is also in year 7, and that makes sense now why he wouldn't come for a walk. So thank you for explaining it.
Yeah, and I remember doing exactly the same with my parents. It's like the thought of being seen out with your parents is like, oh. But then my son now is like, he's got scared of staying on his own because he hasn't been on his own. So when we had to go out for my other son's appointment, he's like, how long are you going to be, Mum? And I'm like, well, come with us. Oh, I don't want to come with you, but I don't want to stay on my own. It's a really tricky age of like, you want that independence, but you're not quite brave enough to take those steps. And it is difficult, but getting them to admit that and talking through it, I think, is the key to moving on.
Absolutely. And I think it's about letting them come back to you, isn't it, as well? I love your comment about, opening up when they open up more when they're preoccupied. And I know my son, his father lives over in South Wales, I live in the southwest. So of course we do a handover every so often. And my son will open more when we're in the car for an hour than at any other time. And it can have been something I've asked him through the day, through the week. It doesn't matter. So you can spend something at home.
Yeah.
But he will always open up when we're in the car. He knows he can't escape. He knows I can't escape. He knows that I'm not going to look directly at him because I'm driving. So they don't feel quite as under the spotlight then as otherwise be. But you're right, and you find drawing is a good one as well.
Yeah. Anything that works, isn't it? Writing it down, journaling can be great if your child's into that. Not many boys tend to be, but some are. It's finding what works for you, isn't it? And like seeing how what we respond well to is like they're going to respond well to, because we find it easier in the car to talk to people as well, don't we? Because the pressure is off, isn't it?
Exactly. And I also like to remember quality time doesn't have to be hours on end. It can be as little as minutes. And you're quite right, talking to your child. My son loves Minecraft. Went to Fortnite, now loves Minecraft. And he builds worlds in Minecraft. I don't pretend to understand it, but he loves to show me the creation.
Yeah.
And if I've taken the time to sit there and let him explain it to me, not that I understand it, but he feels so great because Mum has taken some time to sit with him, and he's been able to show what he's enthusiastic about.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? And it comes from them, so they've got some of that control, haven't they? We're not like telling, enforcing what we like onto them all the time.
Exactly. Good. And Theo's also said she loves the scale idea for communication, giving a number to how they're feeling at that time. So, our viewers here, and I know those who are watching us live or those who are watching on replay will have picked up a lot from this. Because it's very often we put so much pressure on ourselves as parents to, as you say, the perfect parents and not make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to make mistakes, but I think admitting that we've made a mistake, helps, because I'm like, I was too strict to say that, or I didn't put enough boundaries in, or I didn't explain that. I think that helps, and giving them some control over it, not all, and saying, well, what do you I've said to my son, well, what do you think I should do about this then, when he's done something or spoken to me in the wrong way? What would you do if you were the parent? And it gives him a bit of control then to say, what he thinks is right. Do you think you should have got away with speaking like that? That sort of thing. Yeah. So,
because they like to feel that it's their decision, don't they? And they've made the choice.
And bedtime, I found that's a big one. My son is like, why do I have to go to bed at a certain time? We're not in school. So I've let him decide on his bedtime. And at first he was going to bed at midnight. But then as he decided he was getting a bit tired, and he actually did say, I think I'll go to bed at 10 o'clock. So in a way, he is starting to see, well, perhaps that's why my mum decides that I go to bed at 10, because it's better for me, Yeah. So sometimes they need to make their own mistakes and learn from them.
That's it. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic, Rachel. Thank you so much. I mean, it's really
very welcome.
Top tips, that they really are top tips. That just a couple of tweaks can make all of the difference in our relationship. I really, really appreciate you taking your time today to speak with me and speak with us. And certainly thank you. I know you've had an appointment this morning, so we've arranged the time, and that's absolutely fine. You've shared so many insights and so much useful information for our viewers, your members of the group. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, you are very welcome. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, Rachel. And I'll drop some details with where we can contact you and get hold of you. Brilliant. I'd like to share those as well.
Okay, and if anyone's got any comments or questions, I'll come back later in the day and answer them for anybody.
Fantastic. So where can people get hold of you, Rachel?
Well, my business page is called Rachael Barnes, Building Confidence and Self-Worth. So I'll drop that into the comments. And if anyone wants to send me a friend request, that's absolutely fine. I'm open to that as well. I'm very honest. I'll share my own parenting mistakes as well. So that's what you'll get from me, honesty. And we're just human.
Thank you, Rachel, and we've got thank you as well from those. So that's absolutely brilliant. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Care. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, wasn't that great? So many good tips there for building and improving our relationships with our children, and communication. For getting our children to open up. When we're preoccupied or where they're preoccupied, they'll open up a bit more. Then spending quality time with the children one at a time, as little as 10 minutes per day. That's all they need to feel as if you're spending time with them. And it's so easy to find that 10 minutes when you really think about it. And then, of course, we want to acknowledge that their feelings are normal. So when they are feeling angry, when they are in a meltdown, just acknowledge that's normal and allow them to work through that. And finally, teaching children that mistakes are okay. None of us are perfect. We're all human. Mistakes are absolutely okay. Thank you so much to everybody for watching. Thank you to Rachel for giving of her time. And I'll drop the details to contact Rachel in the comments below. And of course, we'll do a roundup later on in the week on Friday. And you're very welcome. I can see the comments there. Thank you for setting this up. You're very, very welcome. Please, any questions, any queries, drop them in the comments and myself and or Rachel will answer them. If you do have any comments, just put a post in the group. I will do my best to answer them, and if I can't, I'll forward them on to one of our experts for you. Hope you're having a fantastic day and enjoying this weather. I'll catch up with you all very, very soon. Take care. Bye.